Okay. Thank you, everyone, for turning out to our March meeting of City on Rising. Sorry we're starting a little late. My fault. We had some printing things that I want to make sure everybody gets out there. I want to thank you all for coming out and building community with us. Just looking around the room, we have from our board here, Nancy Keck, Dan Schreiber, Beverly Jones, Kim Woodruff, and Louisa Benedetto. So thank you all, and everyone else here, of course, who turns out, which we very much appreciate. There are a few things going on I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention. One thing I'm going to pass around. There is a Pelham Bay Park access study, which is dealing with things like flooding in the area, as well as other important issues in the park. Different buses that come in, the wear and tear on the bike path, things like that. They gave a presentation at the Bronx Park Speak Up about a month ago. The Breen brothers were nice enough to post this online, so I went and took it, and I'm repurposing it now for all of you, so you didn't have to sit through the presentation. I'm going to pass it around. If people want to look at it and then just send their notes to me afterwards, don't write on the presentation, but you can always post it or send it to me afterwards. That's fine. We did also send them part of their study is including the flooding in our area. So we sent them over 400 photos of flooding within Pelham Bay Park. So there's, they have a lot of data points to go from that. That's the flooding that's by Turtle Cove, obviously. That's kind of our worst access point, but also the areas over by Shore Road and City Island Road, which get very bad. Orchard Beach Road, which gets bad. The areas when you're getting on and off the Hutch also get bad. So all of those are documented in the large amount of photos we sent over. We're also going to try to get someone from the Parks Department. Again, the study's making its way around, but we'll try to get someone at the from the Parks Department to come present at a future meeting so people are well informed as to what's going on. But definitely something big going on. It's definitely something that we should all be mindful of. On the Ferry campaign, obviously people have seen we've got pretty much all the elected officials in support of bringing the ferry to City Island, which has been a big accomplishment. We are working to try to get more of the elected officials to be even more outspoken on the ferry. So right now they're in the visioning study phase. That's the Economic Development Corporation, which is the city's economic development arm of the city. They're going to be doing a study. They're going to be community outreach events. They know who we are. They are going to work, obviously they're going to be doing community outreach, but they're going to let us know what's going on, and that way we can play a role in that. So we are well on our way there. In the meantime, we're going to keep the public pressure campaign up. So we are doing videos, which are going to be, on our social media pages, and we've got a few of the businesses that are ready to participate, but we're looking for different resident stories, different perspectives of small businesses, of course. We want to get all the different vantage points of why this is important. So if you have a good idea, email us, cityonrising@gmail.com. We'd want to get as many of these videos out and churning as possible. We've kind of started this during the winter months, but obviously the weather made it very difficult for some to participate. So now that the nicer weather is coming, people are outside more. Let's be advantageous. Let's take advantage of this opportunity here and keep things going. To that end, our annual cleanup with Senator Fernandez and Fordham University is going to be April 26th at 10 a.m. This is the same activity we did last year. The only difference is this year Fordham University is going to augment with their students the amount of volunteers we have, so we're going to be able to get a lot more done. So I'm really looking forward to that. We've had some conference calls with Fordham's volunteer arm, and they're very enthusiastic and excited. So all we got to do is bring out our City Island contingent. They're going to try to match it with Fordham students, and we can really get a lot done. And we're doing this right around Earth Day and Earth Month, so in keeping with that, which is very important. Also related, the city is still doing its environmental justice study. This is supposed to kind of keep going with the new administration. So I put a little QR code here on the agenda. If everybody can just take 5 minutes at some point in their week. It can be on the weekend, it could be when you get home. just fill out the survey, make sure they're cognizant and aware of the issues we have on City Island. You know, there's about 15 people in the room. If all 15 people fill it out, that's going to make a difference. On Rodman's Neck, we've been speaking to our legislators, trying to see if they can either do a hearing or something along that nature as to, so I've been speaking to our legislators, trying to see if there could be a hearing of some sort, so we're trying to figure out what we can do. I know with the most recent explosion, based on the, IED from, that was by the Gracie Mansion issue recently, that it was really loud and people were complaining about that, and they've noticed a lot of loud things by the range, so we're hoping that a hearing will bring new light on this. Keep in mind, even though they are starting to soundproof other portions of the range, the bomb detonation area is not considered a part of what they will be modernizing. So that's why we need legislation to pass, because even if they modernize all of the shooting ranges, and remember there was one range they don't want to fully enclose, which is the long arrow, like kind of sniper shooter range. But the other ranges, we want the bomb detonation range to be enclosed, and we want to get this as smooth moving as possible. So there is still a need for this legislation. Go ahead, Beverly and Nancy. Either or, yeah. Whoever wants to go first.
The question is, aren't they supposed to notify the community in some way?
Yes.
When a large, very enormous detonation happens, so that we can anticipate and be ready instead of just being in our lives and
Yeah. So notify.
text. You get a text.
You get an email from Notify NYC. The problem is that, I'm glad you mentioned this. So the last time they did this was 10:30 on a Sunday morning. Most people are not checking their email at 10:30. So you raise a good point. No, I agree. Maybe we can find out if that's. Let me look into that a little bit. Maybe it is something that can be texted out. But I remember even when we got that, 10 years ago. Even still, there's something they should be able to give a little bit more notice on. Go ahead.
I was wondering if anybody else, so right about when all of those detonations of the improvised explosive devices was happening, I went for a run over just across the bridge and then back, and noticed like a kind of like a burnt oily smell on that side. And I was wondering if anybody else had noticed that, if it was related to the bomb detonation, or if it was just some random thing happening in the marsh. So I don't know if we've gotten any complaints about it, but it was like It was very acrid, and given the fact that they were talking about what that chemical that I guess was used in the devices, like I was wondering if it was related.
We can definitely ask them. It's not a problem. So those are two different things, and obviously the bill is carried in the Assembly level by Benedetto and at the Senate level by Senator Fernandez. So it's in two different committees. One's the local government committee in the Assembly, and I believe it's in either the local government or the city's committee of the Senate. So we're going to get a hearing at either one of these houses, just so people can show up and keep this issue on the radar as they're starting the construction, and maybe pressure them to do even more. The other issues, because we do put something out every month before we have the meeting, we put stuff out there so people can send their questions, their comments, their concerns, things they want raised. The first two were from one email. One was speeding on the avenue through red lights. Definitely a concern. We still have our request for a red light camera out there. And actually, right before I came into the meeting, I was getting a bunch of emails from the DOT commissioner, because I was emailing her for an update on these things. I think we're supposed to have a conversation about this. So I will report back, but we do have a request in for that. We've also been following up on some of our other requests. Some of you had asked for not a speed hump, but a speed cushion. All that is it's a breakup of the hump itself so that a bus can pass through easily. We put this request in a few years back and were denied. There was a study that was done. We foiled that study. I have a copy of it over there. I can show some folks after the meeting. That one is only 9 pages long. So that is the easy breezy way to read it. One of the things they measured on the avenue, and we can go through the times, was what's the average speed on the avenue at every intersection. And actually, on City Island, most of the avenue intersections were at a pretty decent rate. It was 20, 25. The only difference was Pilot Street, which was 27. That seems to be the highest point of speed on the island. That's where they put the speed camera. I know some of us might feel differently. Minify, I agree with you on that. So we can, that was one of those requests. The other request, where you actually lead me right to my next point on this, was we had put in some requests a few years back. And these are what I call the historical requests, the requests that all of City Island would love to see but don't happen. One of them obviously is the light on Pilot Street. But there's also requests for stop signs on Miniford, particularly over by Cross Street, particularly over by Beach Street as well. And I do have those studies. That was the much longer, which I know you got a copy of today, the much longer foil, which is not easy breezy reading. That is about 150 pages of all the historical traffic studies and intersections that were done over that period of time. But we do have them over there. Long answer to a short question, we are still working on red light camera speeding. Second was about overcrowding in hospitals. Obviously, I work at a hospital. I don't work in the ER, but I'm aware of the problem. I think that person wanted to come and speak to this issue at the next meeting. And I know this person comes from a healthcare background as well. So I guess we'll see. We'll kind of table this for the next meeting. And then the third complaint was one that came in today, which was that broken glass on Bay Street. And I guess if you do see that, just let me know. We can get sanitation out there and try to get it addressed as quickly as possible. Obviously, now that the snow has melted and people are outside more, there's going to be, and we do not have broad street cleaning services here. This is something we're probably going to have to talk about with the new council member to try to get those addressed. But if there are areas that are in need of TLC, let us know, and we will make sure that the appropriate officials get those concerns. Does building on from that, I guess we'll just go right to the open floor for additional community items. Does anyone?
Is that just concerns?
Anything people have. So I'll go with you, then I'll go to Dan, and then I'll go to Steve. Go ahead, Miss.
I'm Barbara. I live on Schofield and Williams. I came a few years ago, but I just retired sometime.
Thank you for coming.
So I was wondering, have there been ice raids in the community? And we have need, I feel like needs for training so we can protect our neighbors. And I don't know whether that's an issue or not.
So
I think there's a lot of communities in the city that are preparing for this year.
Totally. So a few things there. We did have a lawyer come to one of our meetings in 2025 in the spring, and she gave a Know Your Rights training to us all, and she actually gave us a bunch of handouts, which I'm going to look to put together in a kind of a nicer way. But it was kind of a Know Your Rights and how to get around that. Kind of deal with those situations, even though ICE is, as far as we know, not really been to City Island, understandably, but also what you can do in those situations is enormously important, right? So if you, and I'm not an attorney, but I'm just reporting on what she said at that situation. One thing she made a point of was that if they don't come in with a warrant, they can only go into common areas. You don't have to let them into your house. Why don't we let an attorney who's much more qualified to speak about this issue?
I am not qualified for what I legal. Can everybody hear me without
Unfortunately, people
So I am an attorney, but I'm not this kind of attorney, so this is not legal advice. One of the important things is if you are sort of in charge of a home or business, there's a difference between a judicial warrant, which is signed by a judge, and an administrative warrant that is signed by somebody with the agency. So, there you go. So, I do think that we should potentially invite another lawyer back who can advise more thoroughly. But if between now and then somebody presents a warrant and demands entry into a private space, a home or something like that, that's my understanding, and again, this is not legal advice, my understanding is that that is not permitted with an administrative warrant. An administrative warrant only entitles somebody to access public spaces, but not private spaces. For private spaces, you would need a judicial warrant. And again, not legal advice, but that's something that you can do to check and see if it's signed by a judge. Then that's going to come with a lot more rights of access than something that's just signed by an administrator.
And like in this space, this is public, but up there he has a sign that says employees only. They need a warrant to go to the employees only section. All of the stores on, all of the majority of the commercial establishments on City Island are aware of this. People are protective of their neighbors, so that is like a tiny thing you can do, but it is a helpful thing to clearly notify public and private spaces.
Got that with indivisibles.
Okay.
Also, there's training. There's sort of ice training throughout the city that is not on City Island, but City Island residents have gone to. And so, if you want to be looped into that, there are people to talk to, sort of offline. But many people
Oh, good.
have already been trained. So,
Thank you.
you can talk to them.
Yeah, and we could try to bring a training here. I don't, we could definitely do that again, maybe on a special night. We should get a critical group of people together to make sure, but that's a good, I'll speak to you afterwards. We'll coordinate on that. I think also some of the concern for City Island is that it's one way in, one way out. So God forbid ICE does post up at a certain point, we're in a difficult situation. And so that's something we have to deal with, and we have to find a way to make sure that people feel protected and everybody's treated fairly. All right, so I get exactly where you're coming from with that.
That's real.
I'm sorry, Dan, you had your hand up too.
So like the last 2 years, the city came and ripped up all the corners, and then repaved them so that they're ADA compliant in theory, and then they ripped them up again, and then they redid them all,
Yeah.
and they're all crumbling. So like
Is there a particular bad spot for the ADA?
no. Sorry. Tactfully, it's not the issue of the ADA compliance. It's the issue of crumbling infrastructure.
Yeah.
So like most of the corners that they just did over the last 2 years, the concrete is crumbling.
Which ones are the worst ones, do you think?
Like Schofield's
Schofield's bad,
terrible. I
okay.
mean, I'm not,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not-
I'll bring it.
And so I don't know who's accountable, and I also just don't want the city to come back and
Start finding
selfishly
Yeah.
saying this out loud, like finding the people whose sidewalks are terrible that they already did. So
Yeah.
I just didn't know who was accountable. Like,
So DOT does it. It's usually done. What they do is they wait until they get like a certain critical mass of these, and then they go out and do them all together. So I guess what we can do is if we find one that's particularly bad, and I can speak to you after the meeting, we could take some photos of it. Maybe it's Schofield, maybe it's another corner.
but I just want to make sure that,
Yeah.
like, I guess I'm asking, like, if the city paid all these
Yeah.
companies to do it,
Yeah.
they,
Well, the same one they gave, it's like they sub a contract out jobs.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always seem like the quality of work is the best.
so like, are the
How do
businesses
they-
accountable? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems like you could be a subcontractor for the city and do a bunch of crappy work and get paid, and there's nobody really to say, hey, this isn't good, we can do it, right?
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Anyway, so.
I guess what we need to do is like take a few examples, and then we'd send them to DOT and ask them to either correct these or advise us like what's going on here.
Okay.
That would seem to be the best way forward. I'm happy to work with you and anyone else here. If there are a few that are particularly bad, let's focus on which are the worst and try to get some answers there. Stephen.
3 things.
Yes.
Lighting on Helen out, everything corrected, lights that are.
Is this over by Orchard Beach Road and Park Drive? Yeah, I agree with you, and that's in. So, but yes, we can follow up on that.
The second thing is, with regard to the potholes.
Yes.
I saw saw a pothole truck come by today.
Yes.
They filled in a pothole,
Mm-hmm.
and then they went away.
Yeah.
And in front of them,
Mm-hmm.
there must have been at least 10 other potholes they could have filled in. So I don't understand what their reason is to fill one pothole. And if you're gonna come with a truck,
You should do them all.
It doesn't make any sense.
And a lot of times the material they use doesn't last very long anyway, so it's and somewhat even more uneven. If there's an area that you think is particularly bad, I know one area that people have really been complaining about that they've not gotten to is right when you make that turn off of, right after the Pelham Bay Bridge, right between Shore Road and City Island Road. That area is kind of the worst now, so that's an area that I'm going to be putting in. There's also another area, even though it's not technically City Island, I'm going to say it. The Popeyes chicken right at Pelham Bay Station is kind of like the moon landing. So I get complaints about that from the people who live in Pelham Bay and the people who live on City Island. So we're going to be putting that in as well. And Ring Road, which is right by the Throgs Neck Ferry, is another frequent spot. So I hear you on that one. But you had 3 different things. So that was number 1.
And the third is, can the clerk be put in the island coverage?
Yeah.
You mentioned the dirt in the streets.
Yeah.
Is it possible for them to put something in about having homeowners as well as store owners?
Yeah.
So every once in a while, police the curbs
Yeah.
in front of their business to
Yeah.
try to keep the curbs clean since we don't have alternate side street parking. I
Yeah.
think it's an easy fix, and I think it would make a big difference.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea. It's not a bad one. Okay. We'll look into that. Definitely something we can put in the current and something we can do with social media as well and maybe get a new group of people
Thank you.
into that. Did anyone else? Nilda, go ahead.
It's not a priority, it's
It's
just
fine.
a personal
Yeah.
thing. The City Island Bridge,
Yes.
I agree it needed to
Yeah.
be replaced. But it looks like a chain, a link
Yes.
chain, the fence, that ran out of paint,
Uh-huh.
so you have some green and then it's so unsightly.
Yes.
And it's so like welcome, to
Yeah.
city. What happened to that lovely sign? And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, something,
It's kind of good that it is there, by the way. But
Yes.
no.
Well,
So
it's
yeah.
like they ran out of money and they just finished it. Whatever.
So there's been a back and forth with DOT on this. I want to be careful because we are Facebook Living right now. I think a certain group of residents might be planning a little bit of a bridge makeover, and we can discuss this offline. But let me just say your view is widely shared, and from what I am hearing, there may be some folks doing something about it. Okay? But yes, I will talk to you about it. Nancy, go ahead.
So, I'm more bothered by the fact that the bike lanes are not protected.
Yes.
And a very good friend of mine, her husband was the person that was killed in a head-on collision with a car. And,
Yeah.
it is,
Was this the recent accident where they have the license plate up on the bridge to kind of memorialize that gentleman? Okay, yeah.
So, my neighbor down the block, Sandy, that it was her husband's. That
Yeah.
really went, actually. So,
That's awful. Okay.
and I think everywhere that I've been, there is something, a tiny, whether it's those things that wobble
Yeah.
or some kind of demarcation. I mean, it's painted in the
Yeah.
ground, but cars don't observe that.
So I 100% agree with you. I think this has come up at the meeting many times. We've had a back and forth with DOT specifically about this issue, what they have claimed and I'm explaining DOT, I'm not saying I agree with DOT. So when people hear this, don't kill the messenger. I'm just repeating what I am hearing and we can devise a different way to approach it. Their response over the past few years, pre-accident, because sometimes these accidents do change things. That's why I was writing down a little bit about what you said. Pre-accident, their view had been that, oh well, we don't put the either the bollards or the quick curbs or any of that stuff because the sweepers need to be able to sweep that area when they come over the bridge. Your face is how I reacted when I read said information. But I think now, in light of the recent tragedy, it does shine a stronger light on pedestrian safety. Kim actually had put in a request a little while ago that the that the markings, right when you go over the bridge, needed to be refurbished. They tried to come back to me telling me it was done. Like many of you, I have a camera on my phone. I took the photos. I sent it back. Not done. So believe me, I'm on this side of the equation with you, but this is something we're dealing with a lot of agencies. So just when you can, most people here have my number. If you don't, I'm happy to give it to you. But remember, this is your evidence recorder. You take a photo, you take a video, you can send it to me right away, and I will get it to an agency. And even those who are watching online, you don't need to be uniquely here in the meeting with us to do it, but we will get you in touch with someone who can help with that. But yes, I think particularly on a protected bike lane, it needs to get done. And ironically, there are some maps for the city that list that it is a protected bike lane, believe it or not. And I always bring that up to DOT, which they don't like me doing.
Can we get a representative from DOT to come to one now?
Yeah, I will ask for that, absolutely. We did have someone here about 5 years. We had Commissioner Lopez here about 5 years ago.
I think it's time.
Yeah, I agree.
And using the fire lane, I mean, you still, I know there's no solution.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's gonna continue happening. But you have cars just
Yeah.
really racing down the
Yep.
fire
And
lane.
it happens the worst in the summertime. And
Yeah.
look, I mean,
I mean,
I agree. Part of me feels that they should look into doing a bus lane on City Island Road to try to bring the traffic in and incentivize some folks to take public transportation here. And there's probably wide enough space in that area to consider it. I know in past years they had been kind of, sometimes the bus lanes and the bike lanes, frankly, get controversial, and they don't always want to do it. But I do think it would make sense because as of right now, what they have right now is a fire lane, which isn't properly policed, which is basically the no man's land.
And then they shut the island down anyway.
I agree. Yes, and maybe if it was a bus lane,
Bike lane where the fire
Yep.
lane is, that emergency vehicles use when necessary.
yep. No, I agree. And then again, if you did on a related point, not the same point, but even if you did a bus lane, emergency vehicles could go through that bus lane as quickly as they wanted most of the time. It could still serve that purpose rather than what it serves now, which is just unofficial. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Indy 500 Raceway. Yes, I agree. And look, I mean, we have put in requests repeatedly for the speed cameras. We have 2 on the island. It doesn't solve all the problems on the island. I'm not here telling you that it does. But it has made things safer. As someone who lives on the avenue, I get a perverse sense of satisfaction whenever I see that light go off at certain points and I see someone gunning it because I know at least they're going to get, even if it's a $50 ticket, it's something. But yeah, more needs to be done. That's why we put in the red light complaint. That's why we tried to do the speed cushion on the avenue. That's why, if there are other things that can be done, and we've all got to be creative with that, and I appreciate what you said, Steve. Let's try to bring the DOT commissioner to a meeting, because that'll lead to a good discussion as well. I think one of the best things we can do as a group is we present the problem. Obviously, we have ideas for what the solution will be. But if they can come back, if the agencies or the powers that be can come back with a constructive solution, we have to be open-minded to that solution as well. So, however it's done. But yeah, I agree with you. The fire lane is not serving a fire lane related purpose. Yeah, it's not a fire lane, basically.
John, did the police person address that with the police that do supposedly march on a weekend or something? They sit in the cars and people use that
Traffic
fire
observers.
lane. And it's totally, it's terrible. I mean, for them to do that, just to get out of the lane, to speed that, they want to get to the restaurant quicker or whatever.
So to that end, the captain of the precinct, Anderson Ortiz, is going to come to all the City Island groups and present in the next month or two before the City Island traffic season starts. So he'll be coming to one of our meetings. We may need to not have it on a Monday because he goes down to Comstat meetings Tuesday morning, so his Mondays are a little, it's not conducive to his schedule. So we might need to change our next meeting or the meeting thereafter, the April or May meeting, to have him here. And that would be an ideal time to have part of that discussion as well. So, yes. We'll do 1, 2, 3. We'll go the whole way.
If you happen to have any updates on the casino,
Yes.
and if building that was supposed to be a catering place has been shuttered that has no liquor license by the,
By Seafood City?
Oh yeah. We'll take them at the top there. Hold on. So the one, obviously with the casino, at the end of the year, the governor's office granted the casino to Bally's. So their plan, I believe, is to start construction in the next year, and that the casino will be open by 2030. I believe that's the plan right now.
I don't know anything about it. Where's that gonna be?
It's going to be where the formerly the Trump Golf Links, now the Bally's Golf Links, right when you come over the Whitestone Bridge. So that was one of the permits that was issued. There were 3 permits, and at one point there were 5 applicants. And then honestly, for those of us who are watching it, remember we had the one of the presenters for the Bally's Link who happened to be a City Island resident and requested an audience, and we granted it to him. And nobody here gave him any sort of softball questions, I will say that. People really came loaded for bear. It did not seem at that time that of the 5, Bally's was going to be in top tier contention. And then a bunch of the other licenses either couldn't get the support or dropped out. And then Yonkers Raceway, which had always been considered a lock for one of those licenses, given that they already have they basically just needed to roll in the tables and they were ready to go. They dropped out at the last minute. And that really kind of guaranteed that there were 3 licenses that were available. There were 3 applicants. They weren't necessarily required that all the applicants get licenses. But once Yonkers was out of the way, it made things a little easier for Bally's. And then, yes, in December, Bally's was awarded their contract. So that is where that is. On your second point, the proposed catering hall with the liquor license, I don't have an update on that, but I will ask. I know right before COVID, they had applied for a liquor license, and I think it had, I don't remember, I believe it had been granted, I'm going off memory here, but they went to the community board, but they never wound up opening, so it never wound up being used. So I'll find out what's going on with that. You had your hand up, Nancy?
It was, to follow the gentleman in front of me.
Yeah.
Historically, one of the reasons that we have requested a speed bump on Medford was because people go down, like
Yes.
we are in the 500.
Yes.
And it's inaccurate to suggest that people go to restaurants. It's actually the locals who have road rage about traffic on the main avenue, and they know that they can get faster down the lane, and they are insane. And
Yeah.
one of those insane people killed my dog. So, so we are aware that it's more the locals, and that's a cultural thing, because they feel some sense of, it doesn't matter. The point is, it's not people from outside. They have far more respect for the locals.
We will, whether they're locals, whether they're visitors, whether they're residents, whether they're non-residents, we can look into that. I know we put in requests for Miniford many times. At this point, we can go through that report, the 150-page report. You and I can go through that and make some notes. Yes, I have it over there in a folder. So you and I can powwow on that after the meeting. But I'll even give you my copy, and then you can give it back to me, and you can give me your notes, and we'll go from there. And if people on Miniford Avenue, we do have members on Miniford Avenue. We can, actually, a lot of the people on Miniford Avenue who have put in the requests over the years have been moms.
Yeah.
It's been moms with young children whose kids play on Miniford, and they get very concerned. So maybe we can reconvene the mom squad thereof and see what suggestions they have. But we do have enormous wealth of information that we, as you know, just got today, because you're familiar with the email chains. So we can go through that and see maybe if there's some ideas we can come from there. One thing, and I know this, I'm not saying this would be adequate, I'm just saying what is feasible in a short-term period, would be asking for speed limit signs right when you come over the bridge, right as you turn onto Miniford, as we think of other things to go thereafter. But at least some sort of, particularly, remember, City Island is a slow zone. So something right up there, right when you come on the island, that at least reminds people, does tend to have psychological effects. And maybe that's something we can do in the short term while we devise something that's more holistic, that's more needed, that's more important.
there was a sign by the
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're saying like right when you turn onto Miniford Avenue. But I get your point.
Okay.
Your point is still valid. And frankly, people wonder why City Island got the slow zone. But no matter what meeting you go to on City Island, everyone complains about the speeding on City Island. So, and that's what gets transferred to the elected officials, who are then speaking to policymakers, and that's why City Island got the slow zone. Now the question is, since it was designated as slow zone, what exactly? You just said what I was thinking. What enforcement mechanisms have taken place? And we have repeatedly asked for that. We haven't yet gotten a detailed information. How many traffic stops have there been? What sort of monitoring they're doing? What other changes they're looking to, what other changes are they making or looking to make? And that would be helpful information to know as well. Obviously, everyone wants everyone on the island to slow down. I'm not opposed to that. But what is being done besides just saying something's a slow zone to actually slowing things down?
Right, same thing with the daylighting corners.
Yes.
Like, it's one thing to have daylighting corners and to have signs posted, but if there's no enforcement, then what good are they?
That is a good point, and that is a point I frequently make at the precinct council meetings, and that's actually a point I make, or I'm looking to make, but trying to have a conversation, we talk about the slow zones. Because if that was done to its intended purpose, and I know you know, but so everyone here and the people watching online know, there's an effort to try to daylight all the corners in the city of New York to be compliant, like what you see in Westchester County and all counties throughout the state. It's just a misread of the charter and the city constitution, better known as the charter, as opposed to state law, which requires that the intersections be cleared. And for whatever reason in the city that's not observed. Maybe in some areas that's more controversial, but I think we're reaching a point now where there is going to have to be legislative action on that, and then it's going to have to be enforced. But I agree with everything you just said. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, do not apologize. You're asking questions.
For my friend that lives on King
Yeah.
Avenue or King Street, whatever, where the convent used to be.
Yes.
So his concern is that there's all these minibuses they are now parking
Uh-huh.
and just taking away parking spaces. So is that a business, or why are there all those minibuses there where the convent used to be?
Where the
By St. Mary's.
All right,
In the back of St. Mary's.
There's like a row of like
Got it.
6 of those buses parked there.
All right.
Yeah,
Um,
on the street, on any King Street or.
All right, we can look into it. I don't know immediately
Yes,
offhand.
she'll bring it up.
Yeah, sure.
And-
Let's speak offline. I'll get his information, and we can look into that for him. That's not a problem.
Parking is a problem in Medford.
Parking is a problem. Actually, at the last meeting, there were some residents who brought up that they wanted the corner of Cross Street in Miniford daylighted, because you can't get all the way from the end of Cross Street to that corner because of the bushes from our friend and all the other stuff. And I actually, put something in, and I've already gotten back that, we can't do it there. So I asked the commissioner, can we talk about this? Can we have a discussion? Because people can't see when you're getting that intersection.
There are people who have multiple vehicles on
Yeah.
my block and on the other.
Every block.
And one guy has a collection of Cadillacs, vintage, and he's 5 of them out on, and so people are furious because they
Yeah.
well, we've
can't.
had those Cadillacs out there.
Of course,
Yeah.
but people are so angry because they come home late
Yeah.
or leave, they just can't. And when it was snowing, it was like pitchforks. People were
Yeah.
very angry. And
Yeah.
plus, for me, there's someone who's been there for 4 months. The car doesn't run, and I can't park there. My
No.
tenants can't park there.
I mean, they're supposed to move the cars once a week. That's the regulation. All right, we could talk. The precinct does look into those things. I will say on the flip side, and I'm not saying your situation is analogous to this, but I think everyone saw there was a young woman who had a camper or something like that, and everybody started calling on the camper, and she was not very happy, and it provoked quite a response online. So we've got to find some level of balance here, because we're all neighbors. We have to live with each other. Even if we don't like each other, we've all got to live together. So we have to find some sort of balance here, and but we could talk about this offline. We're not going to solve it at this particular meeting. Did anyone else have anything? Abby, go ahead.
At the corner right after where the bridge starts.
Yeah.
The mural, that cloth mural that's covering.
Yeah.
As the eyesore that's supposed to be there.
Yeah.
It's blocking everywhere, so it's almost covering the sign
Mhm.
You're gonna let them buy, you have to open the street.
I will speak to the people who put that up and ask them what their plans are. That is the mural at the gateway. Yeah.
I don't know if it's possible.
We will talk with them. I'm sure they want to change it too, and we'll find some happy medium there. Anybody? Kim, go ahead.
Separate topic before about the traffic. Is the new captain open to being more strategic about how the traffic cops are used? Because a lot of them do just sit inside the cars.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you got ones that are a little bit more proactive.
Yeah.
But having people just sitting in cars really doesn't do any good.
I would assume so because he's coming to the meetings, but definitely would want because I know you always got a lot of good questioning of the traffic cops.
I go to the city and I see they have a whistle.
Yeah, no.
Like a lot of,
I definitely want you at that meeting because I think you'll ask the right questions.
They're so boring. They just sit in the car.
That's been a problem for many years, and we should definitely ask these questions. I know one of the captains, and I don't want to, but I know she actually, now I'm giving away who it is because we only had one female captain for 5, but regardless, she actually used to go around and like see what was going on, and like if they were in the cars or on the cell phones, she would read them the riot act. And we need a little bit more of that going on.
It was like a heyday of like 1 year where they were really on top of things. It was probably like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
It's been a while. But there was somebody there who would just be like, if people tried to sneak in at the last minute,
Yeah.
they would make them go
Yeah.
around. And once people learned that they had to go around and that it was actually being enforced,
Yeah.
then people behaved a little better. But
Yeah.
nothing's being done. People aren't being rewarded for bad behavior.
Totally, and the nice thing about this is we're having this discussion in March, not in June, not in July, and we're going to have the captain here, and we can hopefully set a good standard right at the start of the season, so that way it just carries through. But I agree with you. Anybody else? Okay.
have him here before Mother's Day.
I agree with that. Have him here before Mother's Day. Amen to that. Okay. Well, we'll be around, all of us, after the meeting. I also brought the map of City Island with some Post-its. So before everyone leaves, if there are some things in the island that you think are in need of improvement, go fill out a Post-it note. Please put who you are, just so we have that information. And there's a sign-up sheet going around too, right?
Yes, right here.
Right here. Okay, good. So please put your, if I have the sign-up sheet, I don't need contact info. But put your name, put your concern, and we do look into this. We do brainstorm on these things, and we will get back to you. So before you leave, as everyone's hanging out here, also patronize this great place because they always open up their doors to us, Peter and the Clipper crew, which we're very grateful for. And fill that out, and we will all meet up next month. Thank you all very much. How we doing? That's fine. Yeah.